I figured, why am I going to sit like a goof parked and do the duck again? I'll do it with a little music in the background. I won't wear the mask. And I don't know why you people are requesting this, but here you go. Are you happy now?
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
I don't know about you, but it feels like this last 7 days was a long time. It was only a week ago that Kevin and I were here doing a special DTKC edition. And then the week before, I was under the weather and a few things going on. I didn't sleep well, so we put up a news report instead. So we haven't done one of these in 3 weeks. I kind of feel a little odd looking at the camera like this. It's been 3 weeks. Merry Christmas, everyone. I know we're past it. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Much love. Not only from yours truly, but for Kev and the entire DT. You know, it's funny. Everybody says like the entire family. Of course, when I say that, I mean all of you as well. But when we say the entire DTKC family, it's really just Kevin and I. We got no producers. We got no writers. We have no sponsors. It's okay. We have to get us together. I hope everyone is having a good holiday. Listen, before I go any further, many of you know that I don't go on social media much at all anymore. 2025, it's going to be a different story. 2025, we're going to assault. We're going to physically assault social media. Any little thing that I feel like venting about, we're going to start. You know, like I was going to go on Twitter today and like, Gabe Kidd, stop trying. You're trying too hard. When he's like, oh, Kenny Omega's not happy at work at AEW. Why don't you just leave? Gabe Kidd is like that nerd that is just trying to like, you know, like get noticed, get attention, tries to say controversial stuff. You know, you're trying too hard, kid. And no pun intended. You know, things like that. I want to just go up there and just speak my mind. You know, these little bitches, you know, it's about time we start giving them a little bit of DTKC salami in the ass, you know? Stick it right up there, Cooley. But I was not on Twitter at all today, and I had gotten a couple of DMs that I read over the last hour, and my condolences are for Guardian of Chaos. Not only is he a moderator here, he's a friend of the show. He's a friend of yours truly. Even in wrestling, a legend here in the Northeast. I'm envious to how many people he not only met in wrestling, but worked with in wrestling. And, you know, I will never, ever forget, he was on one time, he called in, and this is when we were taking calls, and all he did was, like, praise me. And I'm like, I felt awkward because it's like, man, you did 1,000 times more than I ever did, and you did it well. I mean, got to be proud of that. So I always appreciated how big of a heart that he has. I know he's a husky guy. He kicked my ass, but he's got a big heart. And this weekend he lost his brother. His brother passed away. I don't know any of the details yet. I haven't even had a chance. Excuse me for 1 second. I have the air conditioner on. I've been going crazy this evening. I'll explain in a minute, but it's hot in here. But But, I don't know any of the details, but all I know is that his brother passed away. And I don't know if he was sick. I don't know, but I just wanted, in case he sees this, my condolences. I know everybody in the chat room sends it as well, because that's a good guy. I mean, legitimately good guy. Even back in the day when he was like a younger Chaos, didn't cause as much chaos. He was one of those that, definitely had presence in the room. I never worked show with him, but when I watch videos, he had presence. There's some big guys out there that, fill a room and you realize they're just filling a room, taking up too much oxygen. Chaos had a presence about him when he did his stuff. And he's a very good guy. So my thoughts are with you. My thoughts are with you. Just random, because I didn't post the link for tonight's show until about 15 minutes before we went live. I seriously don't think 1,026 of you out there like the fact that I just put the link up 15, 20 minutes ago. I don't know what that is with 1,000 likes, but hey, if it's a glitch, I'll take it. Too bad it's not in the super chat department, but no, I'm saying I'm kidding. But, the thing is that a couple of you sent in some very, very late super chats, and one of you brought up Jimmy Carter. I didn't even know about it. Literally, I brought my phone in the room and I looked it up, and Jimmy Carter passed away today at 100 years old. Now, for most of you out there, Jimmy Carter's before your time. He is before my time too, because I was only 8 years old. Well, I was 7 years old when he became president. But I do remember as a very, very young child, late at night, my parents watching like Johnny Carson, and they would make fun of him. They would make fun of the Peanut Farm. They would make fun of family members of his. In fact, I think his sister might have posed in Hustler one time. And, he was back at that time kind of considered as a joke. And then we had a bad recession, which I didn't learn about until later on, which is very interesting, because I know a lot of you out there, Billy Beer, absolutely, Robert, Billy Beer. A lot of you will remember when I do the growing up Don Tony stories, they're all legit. I don't need to exaggerate. Trust me, if I'm going to lie about me growing up, I would have told you I would have had sex with 15 women at the same time. I would have told you that I rode like brand new cars. I'm not going to turn around and say I went to a club at 3:00 in the morning and banged some 200-pound rat. That's not anything that you would kind of like brag about, but we look back and we have fun. We laugh at it. And for anybody, it's going to be like, how dare you call her a rat? She was a rat. She went with me. I smelled like cheddar cheese at the time. She went with me. So what does that tell you? But no, the thing is that, remember when I told you all, like when I was growing up, for some reason, my mom and my dad would always give us for dinner, like the boiling bags. Any of you remember the banquet boiling bag dinners that you would take a pot of water and then they would pull out of a box like a plastic, it looked like a Ziploc bag, and inside there was a piece of meat with gravy, and you would boil it and, the package would say sealed, but you would boil it for like 5 minutes, and that would be on a plate. And that would be our dinner, maybe with a loaf of bread or something. And, I'm not saying that we were poor. Absolutely not. My father took every penny that he had and put it in his business. And it breaks my heart in 2024. He sold the business. It opened in 1982. But even before that, for years, he was trying to put all his money together to one day have his own supermarket. He worked in a supermarket called Scotoro on Knickerbocker Avenue back in the 1970s. And Chirco's Bakery. Who is it? Who's the one that's married to, Trinity. Yeah, Trinity. Not the Trinity that's in WWE now. I'm talking about Trinity that was in the TNA. Wait, she was in TNA too. The original, the white Trinity. She used to love Chircos because she made such a big deal when I brought cannolis to an indie wrestling event in the middle 2000s. She's like, oh my God, Chircos, I love it. But the thing is, I always wondered back then, like, wow, we had like shitty dinners. We would have like banquets, macaroni and cheese. We'd eat hot dogs, and that would be like our regular dinner. Now I understand that in the late 70s, we had a horrible economy, horrible. And that's what they tried to, make ends meet to give us, that's why if you all remember, I say that my earliest memories of my dad would be coming home from work late, eating a bowl of squash, or eating a bowl of, I can't remember what, escarole, and going to bed, and then getting up in the middle of the night and going to work. I mean, that's all they can afford. But then the hostage crisis in 1979, that did him in. And when Reagan ran for president, it was interesting about Reagan. We're not going to stay on politics, I promise you. We'll move on to wrestling. But it's interesting because when Reagan beat Jimmy Carter in 1980, he won. If you think Trump and Kamala Harris was a landslide, Jimmy Carter's ass was red. He ripped him to shreds in that election. And yet, Reagan had a hard time, from politicians, and had a hard time, getting over that stigma of being a Hollywood actor, even though he was the governor of California, I believe. And then he got shot in 1981. And then that was the beginning of the turnaround with Reagan. And he ended up being one of the most beloved president of my lifetime. But the thing with Carter that I'll always remember is those 52 hostages, I think they were, that were in Iran held hostage. They were let go the same day that Ronald Reagan was put in office. That was part of my language. That was the ultimate fuck you to Jimmy Carter. I mean, on the way out, the hostages were let go the day that he left office. Up until that time, Jimmy Carter was a disaster. Jimmy Carter, up until President Biden, to me, was the worst president of my lifetime. Joe Biden, with all due respect, you see the videos even from 2.5 years ago, that he has his hand out, shaking hands with people, and there's nobody there. And he doesn't know where he is, and you're just looking around in space. And then Kamala Harris, with all due respect, she runs for office, and she offers nothing. She just tells us to vote for her because Trump is Hitler. And then, would you change anything in the last 4 years? No, I wouldn't change nothing. And then you start thinking to yourself, wait a minute. So what was she doing the last 4 years along with Biden? So we realize the country's being run by other people right now. But up until Biden, Jimmy Carter was the worst president of my lifetime. But when he left office, that man had, to me, an amazing life. Habitat for Humanity, going to other countries, making peace, getting, just Jimmy Carter. If you ever bored, go look up what that man did after he left the presidency. And I tell you, if any of us could be 1/10 the kindness that he had, we'd be a better country. That man, I don't care what his beliefs are. I don't care if he hated everything that I like. That guy was a really, 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 really genuinely good man. Probably shouldn't have been president, but afterwards, everything that he did, I mean, he had controversial comments. I mean, he wanted to remove Hamas not too long ago as a terrorist organization. So, he's not perfect, but was genuinely a good guy. 100 years old. My God. 100 years old. I mean, peanuts and Billy Beer. I mean, 100 years old. I'll be happy if I get to 80. Or I'll be happy if I get to 75, which kind of sucks because I'm less than 20 years to 75. I mean, before you know it, just think about it. WCW went out of business in 2001, and that was almost 24 years ago. 24 years from now, I'll be almost 80. That sucks. It sucks. So my condolences to Chaos and his family. And Jimmy Carter, 100 years old, rest in peace, rest in peace. So let's talk a little wrestling. And please, for anybody that's newer to the show, you talk about whatever you want. Super chats are not required. They're appreciated to help keep the lights on, obviously. Help us pay the bills. Sometimes we can, I left it inside. We could buy, a couple little treats with it. And we upgrade. If you look at the website, DTKCShow.com, we're going to put up a section when the next episode is going to be. We're going to put up a retro section. We're going to put up a section where we're actually building our own message board, like old school message board from the early 2000s, where everybody could register and mingle on there. I know Discord has a message board, but it ain't the same because it's moderators. And when we do our own message board, it'll be by invitation only. So everybody in there, there'll be no strangers. There'll be no hackers. There's always a chance of hackers, but that website, the bandwidth, everything, it's thousands of dollars and we can't afford that, in this day and age. So you guys help. You'd be surprised, but that doesn't mean that you have to do that. I always want to stress that. Just downloading the shows helps us more than you can imagine. Telling a friend, telling us honestly if you're upset about something, it helps us get better. So we really appreciate it. In 2025, I think 2025 is going to feel like 2008 for Kev and I, because I don't think people understand what's coming. We're going to try to put clips up on YouTube of our conversations, but we're going to do it Cornette style, just one thumbnail and the discussion. So the shows will be more organized and neat in 2025. We've practiced that over the last month and a half, and we've got it pretty much where we want it to be. I'm going to be pissing off people on Twitter. We're going to definitely expand in 2025. I don't think people will see it coming. And it's all good because Kevin and I, we love wrestling and we want wrestling to get better. We're not one of those that just wants to use the negative as a reason to shit on it and make money. That's going to get out of style quicker than you realize. And some people out there are going to be left with their pants down. And not only are they going to reveal that they have very small penises, some of them with gray pubic hair, but they're going to realize fuck, what do we do now? There's only so many times I could talk about J.J. Dillon. There's only so many times I could talk about the fucking Louisville Gardens. There's only so many times I could fucking tell everyone that I got crushed in a match by Triple H. There's only so many times that I could talk about the analyst of this move. There's only so many. People are going to be like, oh, God, talk about now. No, but then I got to watch the show. I fucking love the live reactions to special episodes. And then I don't watch this show every week. Fuck you. Seriously. I don't mean that personally, but fuck you. Fuck you. But you know what? Good for you. You got the money. You got the audience. People really got annoyed at my Ricochet conversation. If I could get a magic wand, as of right now, I don't want Ricochet on my TV. I'm not interested, but I think Ricochet is on his way. He's kind of following the footpath to Dominic Mysterio. No, I don't mean it like that. I mean it that Dominic Mysterio, when it first came on, yes, he was new. So that's the difference. But Dominic Mysterio, people are like, why is this guy on TV? He's only on TV because of Ray's son. He's not good. He's got an awful look and he's this and that. And he's too young. He's got to do this. And little by little, he started finding his way into a chicken shit. Now he's not so much the chicken shit anymore. Now people are kind of appreciating Dominic Mysterio. And plus they realize he's a really good guy outside of professional wrestling. But Dominic Mysterio is one of those guys you want to see him get his ass kicked. Drew McIntyre. Look at Drew McIntyre's 2024 win-loss record. You'll vomit. You'll be shocked how many times he lost. It's kind of like Charlotte Flair from 2 years ago. But Drew McIntyre at house shows, fans wanted to see Jey Uso beat his ass. They don't want to see him win. Sure, wrestling sometimes is supposed to break your heart and let you down, but Drew McIntyre knew his role. And look at what the 2025. When I see all these scoop sites, WWE has big plans for Drew McIntyre. Yeah, you were the same schmucks that said that WWE has big plans for Carlito as a singles wrestler. That was 5 fucking months ago. So, yeah, even somebody in a vegetative state on their deathbed could see that one coming. But Ricochet, if he does this right, man, let me tell you guys, I'm telling you, Ricochet, if he does it right and takes his time, he will be arguably the biggest heel, maybe even bigger of a heel as MJF, because MJF people like. They think he's cool. They think he's good at being a heel. Ricochet is one of those guys, one of those rare guys that ultimately you're going to want to see him get his ass fucking kicked. Ricochet could, if he plays his cards right and doesn't rush it. He's a pretty boy. He's got money. He came from the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling, WWE. He's got the girl. And he's got the moves. The more I look back at that comment where he says there'd be no AEW without him, I'm thinking, is that character development? That might be more character development than anything else. If he plays his cards right, that guy will be at least in the top 3 of the biggest heels in AEW. Fans will want to see him get his ass beat. And that's money. That's money. That's not go-away heat. Right now, he has a lot of go-away heat. There's no question. But, X-Pac had go-away heat. Eddie Guerrero had go-away heat in his early WWE days. He came in with the Radicals. It was cool for a little while, and then it fizzled out dramatically. And Eddie Guerrero had go-away heat. It's kind of amazing to look back on it and remember that. People right now don't want to hear me say that about Ricochet. But, hey, if he ends up putting this together, isn't it entertaining to see him just get punched in the mouth? It's wrestling. It's entertainment. That's me. That's what I want to see. All right, let's get into a couple of super chats first. Then we'll get into your questions. We're not going to spend a crazy amount of time tonight for a couple of reasons. Number one, Kevin and I have a big episode tomorrow. We have some interesting discussions to get into. That's one. Number two, it's the holidays, obviously, and not everybody's going to be pinned down to want to listen to 2 hours today, 2 hours tomorrow, 3 hours here, an hour here, 2 hours here. As of right now, I don't know if I'm doing a New Year's Eve live stream online. We've done it the last couple of years, but now everybody and their mother does one, and it's fun and everything. But I kind of think this year, because of what happened to my wife, the passing of her dogs, New Year's is definitely going to be a downer for her, because she was her dog's human. And she died a week into 2024, January 7th. So I'm not sure yet. I got to feel the vibe New Year's Eve. She's being a bitch. Then I'll just say, hey, I'm gonna go do a show. So I'm not going to wait till the last minute, but, that's up in the air right now. So we'll see. All right. Bob the Builder with a 5 spot. Thank you, Bob. I need your reaction to the Mark who asked a question to Tony Khan at the Scrum yesterday about negativity. What an embarrassment, wrestling journalism. Is that the guy that changed his profile to media scrum person for Wrestling Observer? Listen, I don't know the guy personally. I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to be an asshole at the same time. He went to the show. He paid the ticket, from what I understand, and he was invited in the scrum. So he is the product of the environment. Nobody's going to get, the really professional journalists in that room. You'll get a few, but you're going to get a lot of goofs, a lot of people that work for websites. And honestly, I don't even think he gets paid anything to do anything for Wrestling Observer. But here's where I turn into asshole DT. When you run to your social media profile and change it to media scrum questioner for Wrestling Observer, and you're above the age of 18, especially if you have a fucking neck beard, yeah, you are a nerd, a goof, and you are perfect for that media scrum. I'll say this. I thought Tony Khan handled the scrum better than I expected, especially when he was asked about WWE running a show close by. And listen, I don't know any facts about this. I will tell you, Dave Meltzer revealing publicly that he had conversations with Tony Khan, and Tony Khan thinks airing the Jack Perry CM Punk video helped put it over the top for the TV deal. Dave Meltzer, him and Tony Khan are perfect for each other. Let them, they be on the Titanic right now, and Tony Khan will be like, what do we do? No. Boss, straight ahead. No, but that's big and that's white. It's big and white. It's not supposed to be there. Sound like I'm talking from like Spanish Harlem in the Bronx. That big white thing should not be there. No. It's okay. It's all right. This is the route. That's the right. No. Yeah, it's okay. Keep thinking that. Rampage got canceled. Oh no, we want to focus on Collision. Stupid. Warner Brothers Discovery asked you for additional programming and additional shows because your ratings in 2020 were still fucking spectacular. And you got CM Punk in 2021. That's why they wanted extra shows. All right. The reason why they canceled the shows is because CM Punk is gone and your ratings are going down substantially. Rampage is down 50% in 3 years. Dynamite is down 40% in 1 year. Oh, everything's fine. It's okay. Let them keep thinking that. But from what I have researched on Tony Khan's father, very, very intelligent man. Shahid Khan, that guy knows his shit. Now, I don't know how much he knows about wrestling, but he knows the books. And I'm sorry, unless we find out later on that Tony Khan is a special needs child who's grown up, we find out that there's some legitimate personality disorder, medical condition about Tony Khan, just because he looks normal, just because he sounds normal, just because he talks normal, doesn't mean, that that there's a dozen donuts. There might be a couple of eggs missing in the carton. If that's not the case, I guarantee you, Shahid Khan is looking at the books, looking at ratings, looking at empty arenas, and saying, son, you can't keep doing this. Something needs to change. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? Give his own father the Ray Phoenix treatment? Give him the Ricky Starks, the Joey Janela treatment? No, his father is the boss. He's the boss. Why do you think people in the NFL world call a 40-something-year-old man, oh, that's Shad Khan's kid? Just imagine that. You say that when somebody's in high school or somebody just graduated high school, it's in college. Oh, that's Scott Steiner's kid. Oh, that's Bill Goldberg's kid. When you're 40 fucking years old and a multi-billionaire and people still referring you as somebody else's kid, that's not good, especially when it's outside of wrestling. So I truly think that his father has had a legitimate sit down with his son and told him, listen, this shit's got to change. You got to stop with this stuff. I think Shahid Khan also sees the dumb shit on Twitter that his son writes. And I honestly think, I pretend this is Tony Khan's head. I honestly think Shahid Khan goes up to him like, what's the matter with you? What are you writing, like a 3-year-old? What are you writing that stuff for? Calling the Harvey Weinstein a wrestler? You trying to get us sued? What are you, schmuck? Stop it. Plus, and this answers your question. You're getting your money's worth today, Bob. This answers your question. I think Tony Khan also is growing up because for several years, he was able to wear dumb sunglasses and put in his commercials how they trounced NXT and how, remember, you see, a lot of you forget the Fox Business appearance earlier this year when he claimed they had 500 million, which was really 500,000 fans for the first year of 2024 in attendance. He'd said that he had 110 events, 500,000 fans. We still don't know where the fuck he came up with those numbers, but obviously Fox Business, this is not Donald Trump here. This is not even Donald Duck. Nobody's going to fact check him. Let him say what he wants. Nobody cares. Nobody's watching anyway. So I think what's happening is this. There's only so many times, and there's a lot of Twitter videos of this. You ever see the Twitter video of some asshole Arab in country, I think it was in Saudi Arabia, and there was a kangaroo. I posted on my Twitter way back when. I still have the video. Maybe I'll post it next week. It was a kangaroo. There's a little Arab prick about 20 years old. He's taking a stick and he's poking the kangaroo. And then he starts punching the kangaroo. Now, you know it's coming. I mean, it wouldn't be on Twitter if it was just that. So he keeps poking it, and he starts smacking the kangaroo. And you start really feeling bad for this kangaroo, but you start to be like, let me get that popcorn. This guy's going to get his ass kicked in a second. Sure enough, that kangaroo looked like a bad cartoon, beat the fuck out of that guy. Keep saying kid. Got Tony Khan on my mind. And that guy learned the lesson. You don't fuck with the kangaroo. I think what happened with Tony Khan is for a couple of years, he got to say what he wanted. He had a lot of people having his back. You had a lot of journalists now that claim to be so upset with AEW. They're the ones that helped build the fucking problem. And now Tony Khan is like, oh shit, people are fighting back. Oh my God, we're not trouncing people in the ratings anymore. In fact, WWE's, developmental is beating us in the ratings. We got $100 billion in payroll. They got 11. And they're beating us. So I think they got some truth medicine. There's only so many times you could poke the WWE fans. There's only so many times you could poke WWE. There's only so many times you could poke on social media and get away with it for a couple of years. Now you're getting it in the ass. And you don't like it. And you get people like Dustin Rhodes, who I absolutely adore. Dustin Rhodes is a good person, man. Great for that company. But when he's like, can you leave us alone? Dustin, honestly, no! Fuck you! Wait, why didn't you fucking say something a couple of years ago? Guys, can we all just love each other in wrestling? Come on, we're all working to entertain the fans. Come on, you appreciate AEW. Thank you for your support, but can you, leave them alone? Everybody's doing it for the same reasons, to better their lives, better their family situation, and entertain the fans, create a career out of it. No, you shut the fuck up. You said nothing. Now you're getting in the ass. Can you leave us alone? No. And no one is going to stop it. So when this guy goes in a media scrum yesterday about the negativity, with all due respect, Mr. Observer employee, I get paid nothing, but now I have it changed on my profile, and I'm going to tell my grandkids that one time I interviewed a billionaire. No, too bad. You made your bed. Now you live in it. Why do you think people like Renee Paquette gets no shit online? Moxley gets a lot of shit because of the character. Nobody rips her apart. She came from WWE. She's married. to someone whose character absolutely sucks on TV right now, the Death Riders, I'm gonna poison you with mouthwash, because she comes off likable. She don't criticize nobody. She stands up for herself, but she's friendly. She gets along with both sides of the aisle. There are people out there that are like that. And then you get some others who, are very, very, quick to, rip back at people. And it's easy when you're on offense, but now you're on defense and you don't like it. Well, too bad. Too bad. Actually, you know what? I just realized it. I'm sure I'm not the first person that came up with this, but I'm officially announcing it. From now on, we have the Death Riders in AEW. From now on, when we talk about people like that goof that asked Tony Khan that question, or any goofs on social media, or any goofs that talk dumb shit, from now on, we have a name for their group. We're going to call them not the Death Riders. We're going to call them the Dick Riders. The Dick Riders. That's what they are. He's a member of the Dick Riders. All right. Bob with another question. When both their careers are over, who do I think will have a better career post 2020? Edge or CM Punk? As far as their entire careers, Edge has had a more Hall of Fame career than CM Punk. I know CM Punk is better on the mic. To me, if you put CM Punk, take away CM Punk's history of being an asshole. If you put CM Punk and Edge on a Hall of Fame ballot and you legitimately voted, Edge would get many more votes before CM Punk. Since 2020, though, it's too early to tell, but I am leaning towards CM Punk. Edge's return still feels like nostalgia. CM Punk's return feels like, I don't want to, listen, not comparing their styles. Anybody remember when Shawn Michaels came back? Anybody remember when Shawn Michaels took that many-year sabbatical and then came back? He came back, and arguably the second part of his career was better than the first for many people's eyes. And nobody expected Shawn Michaels to have that second run. I think that is what's happening right now with CM Punk. If he could stay injury-free, CM Punk's second run could, not saying it will, could top his first run. I know his promos were legendary back then, and he was one of the best wrestlers in the world. But keep in mind, though, for many, many years of CM Punk's career, he was at Ring of Honor that drew an average of 660. And he was in TNA, which obviously was much smaller. He came to WWE and had a great run, but even in WWE, CM Punk was not considered the top of the food chain. Edge wasn't top of the food chain either, but CM Punk was ranked much lower. He had the championship, no question. But, his merchandise sales was spectacular. I mean, Edge had a lot of shit merchandise. I still have the shirt. You go on Google Images, look it up. When everybody, it's funny because I see Shit Skeeta and What Culture, and they'll put the top 10 worst wrestling shirts of all time. Obviously, Kalisto with the penis is, to me, I think, number one. That's still an amazing shirt. I got to get my hands on it one day and wear it for a show. But the shirt that they always seem to forget to put on that list, it was a shirt that Edge had for a very, very short period of time. He might have only had it on sale for 2 months. And I got one, and I still have it to this day. And his shirt it literally said on the shirt, everybody needs a little bit of Edge inside them. And at that time, when you think of the leader, sex stuff, and everything else, it's a funny shirt to look back on. There's many, many funny shirts, but that shirt, he had some bad merchandise back in the day. But my God, as of right now, for an entire career, Edge is definitely over CM Punk. But since 2020, I give the edge to CM Punk. Edge was nostalgia. When CM Punk showed up in AEW, fucking Rampage got 1.1 million viewers. Sold out buildings because of CM Punk. Edge got welcome back. And I'm not discounting Edge. I'm a big fan of his work. Very, very appreciative of what he has done. I'm glad he's back in wrestling. But since 2020, I still give it the edge to CM Punk. Ronnie C., thank you earlier for that super chat about Jimmy Carter. We talked about it earlier. You obviously sparked that. I actually saw your post about 5 minutes when we were live, and I was like, oh, shit. I looked on my phone. It's amazing that he was helping Habitat for Humanity up into his 90s. I mean, sure, he was only cutting one piece of wood. He would show up and he'd be like this. And he'd be like, Jimmy, we got to film you for a few seconds. Oh, give me the saw. And they'll film him. You ready? You ready? All right. Jimmy Carter was a good person, man. Very, very good person. I know I'm cracking a joke, just trying to make people laugh. I have nothing against the man. Thoughts on Robert Brooks? Tyrese Veridiano. Robert Brooks. Why is that name escape me? Robert Brooks. All right. I'll look it up really quick on my phone. Robert Brooks. It sounds like an actor. It doesn't sound like a wrestler, because if it was a wrestler, I probably would have heard about it by now. Let's see. Let's look it up. I have it on my phone. I know it's unprofessional. Who is Rob? Hold on. I had the microphone going and it typed. Now, no, it's unprofessional. Let's see who this man is. I don't want anybody to tell me. Let me look it up. I want to see the face. Robert Brooks. Football. Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks is an American businessman. Know nothing about him. There's a guy in football. Know nothing about him. What happened to Robert Brooks was inhumane. Oh, wait a minute. Hold this. What happened to Robert? 8 videos of fatal New York prisoner being beaten made public. Robert Brooks, the man. Is this a new story? Yeah, it is. The man fatally beaten in a New York prison earlier this month was repeatedly punched by correction officers when handcuffed, stuck in the chest with a shoe. That sounds like a Dr. Seuss poem. And lifted by the neck before being dropped. Oh, my God. Wow. I'm looking at pictures. Holy shit. I think that's the Robert Brooks you're talking about. Kevin Milwaukee says, not him, not the Packer. Yeah, he's probably talking about this one. Now, douche is saying, oh, wait. So you actually didn't show any, sympathy for the guy that got his ass kicked in jail? He says, look up Robbie Brookside. Oh, Robbie Brookside? Yeah, Bobby Brookside. Robbie Brookside. He's a wrestler from the United Kingdom, right? Yeah, he's a wrestler from the United Kingdom. Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, I remember. He needed to eat a sandwich. Robbie Brookside. Here, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you a very legit Robbie Brookside story. Robbie Brookside now is got to be 55, maybe a little older than that. Back when we were doing the XPW stuff, XPW wanted to bring in somebody from the United Kingdom. And I can't remember the guy's name, but they were looking at 5 different United Kingdom wrestlers. And one of them was, oh my God, if somebody could look it up for me, just look up XPW UK. I think it's Johnny Storm, I think his name was. I think his name was Johnny Storm. I remember going out to eat with him, And the girls went nuts for this guy. Holy shit. Like, it was shocking. Like, this guy, tremendous wrestler. I think he might have actually had a stint in TNA at that time. But I could swear that Robbie Brookside was one of the 5 people that XPW was looking into. In fact, I think Johnny Storm wrestled like a bunch of indies at that time, and I'm pretty sure he also went to TNA. But Robbie Brookside, because he was primarily in the United Kingdom, I really never saw much of his career. Like, you see some people here and there, and, you know, you're like, wow, tremendous wrestler. But, you know, he was one of those, you know, to me would have been perfect in X Division. And again, he could have even had a stint in TNA for all I know. But I think we remember him as Bobby Brookside. That's what I kind of remember. I definitely didn't remember him as Bobby Brooks. So, yeah, I mean, you know, I got to do a little bit more looking on him, but, you know, he looks, you know, like a legit guy. Bobby Brooks, absolutely, man. Bobby Brookside. I'm pretty sure that, you know why everybody remembers that name now? Because it's Zaya Brookside. And I don't think they're related. If they are, post it in the chat. You don't have to super chat that. So, somebody sent coffee. Thank you, Roger Rubio. Much love. I will. But I will have Nespresso. I will not go to Starbucks. I bought, if any of you drink Nespresso, they came out with the Cuba pods, and I swear to God, I got a gift certificate for Nespresso. I bought 10 boxes of Cuba. I had one, and I'm not this big, you know, espresso drink other than Italian coffee, but it was amazing. If you're into espresso and you have the Vertuo machine, they're a little pricey because they give a little money to the farmers, but the Cuba ones are out of this world. Amazing. Douche says that he's pretty sure Zaya Brookside is his daughter. That actually makes sense. Because Zaya Brookside is what, 23? Maybe a little older? So he would have had her when he was about 25? No, wait a minute. What am I saying? No, she's got to be in her late 30s, I would say. Or, no, late 30s, late 20s. No, so he could have had her at like 30 years old, and she'd be like 25, 26 right now, around that. Thank you, Roger, for that. Thank you. Steve Joseph, no Darby Allin in the main event last night. Yeah, I mean, when I did the news update earlier, I didn't talk about it that much because we were already at 30 some odd minutes, I think 40. You know, here's my honest take on it. I guess they don't want Darby Allin to win the belt before Allin in Texas. Darby Allin, if he's going to climb Mount Everest, he's going to do it in April. That means he's going to be off TV in March at the latest. So we're already approaching January, which means that he would not have had to run for more than maybe a month and a half, 2 months at tops. So my thinking is that they decided, all right, we'll wait until Darby, if he comes back. And I'm not saying that to be funny, but a lot of people have had tragedies at Mount Everest. That's not, you know, there's a reason why not many people climb Mount Everest. But Darby, while you're there, maybe you could clean up some of the garbage. Any of you ever see the videos? It's awful up there. That is disgusting. That is disgusting up there. But or at least, what happened to all these environmental geniuses out there? How's about bringing biodegradable stuff? I mean, you look at all the garbage up there. I mean, I'm sure not everything is biodegradable, but still, man, people hike up there and they're like, oh, now I got to hike back. I'm going to leave my fucking sleeping bag. Fuck that. I'll leave it. They leave shit up there. But I'm very disappointed that they did not do that yesterday. You know, what I did say in the news update earlier is that Worlds did not end yesterday. Yeah, Edge might end up becoming your next world champion. That is definitely a possibility. But I think they totally missed a huge opportunity with Darby Allin. Closing out 2024 with a 50-some-odd-year-old man confronting Jon Moxley is not the way I would have closed out 2025. If you remember, when we talked about ratings a year ago, for some reason, maybe it was just bad timing, but when Adam Copeland debuted, their ratings went down from the 9s into the 8s. Then it went from the 8s to the 7s. And then Mercedes Moné debuted, and it went from the 7s down to the 6s and the 5s. And you got Okada. You know, what people need to realize is that when you watch AEW programming now, a lot of the people that are eating up a big amount of the time of the shows are wrestlers that weren't even working there a year ago or were not there full-time a year ago. So the AEW that got 1 million people, 900,000, is not the same AEW now. And who wants to see a great actor in a bad movie? You know, that's what it is. And, you know, I'll say this. I would have closed out 2024 with Darby Allin coming to the save for Orange Cassidy or somebody, and Moxley fucking mocks him, and then, you know, Darby challenges him to a match, puts something on the line. You know, I don't want to say his career, but put something on the line, or call him a pussy, or something, you know, and Moxley says, ring the fucking bell. And Darby Allin beat him in a few seconds. And then Moxley could come out on Dynamite. I wasn't prepared for him. I wasn't even having this match that needs to be reversed. It would have been a fun way to close out 2024, but instead you brought back a guy that, you know, is obviously way past his prime. And FTR, let's be honest, guys, forget the social media stuff. FTR has been used horribly in the last year. Horribly. They've been in collision purgatory and show up once in a while. You just because you show up in you know, in good shape, you know, top guy's out, you know, like, no, top guy's misused. You can't simply just throw him back on TV and like, oh, everything is good in the world again. No, I'm not interested in tuning in Wednesday. They're going to do a 6-man tag against the Death Riders. Ooh, big deal. So Darby Allin, I think they missed an opportunity yesterday, but now I feel like they're going to do it at Allin. One Fall, what's up, One Fall? Thank you for the 50 pesos. If Penta debuts in the first Raw of 2025, which I expect him to, what is the right way to book him? Babyface heel against who? Babyface, align him with Rey Mysterio. Let him beat up Dirty Dom. Let him beat up Dirty Dom. That's what I would do it. I think it would be an instant. And guess what? Dominic Mysterio would love to face Penta. Absolutely would love to face Penta. That's what I would do. He will debut on January 6th. And by the way, tomorrow we should know the length of next week's Raw. And we should know beyond that as well. It's not a hidden secret. I mean, but, you know, the buildings need to know. You know, the advertisers need to know. You know, they're selling advertising space, guys. If they go an extra hour, Netflix doesn't go in the production truck and say, hey, Amy, cue up State Farm's commercial. People pay for those advertising spots. So they know how long it's going to be. Isn't it amazing that nobody online can get that information? They claim to have all this other stuff, but no one could get that. You know, I got a 50-50 chance of being right. I'll say there'll all be 3 hours. That's why when Meltzer said, oh, the way he wrote, go look at his article from a week ago. It's so cute. And we're going to expose that shit in 2025 a little further. But when he writes about the first Raw being 3 hours, look at his wording. He writes like 3 sentences about it. And the reason why he wrote it that way is because when you're done reading it, you're like, is he talking about just the first week or is he talking about every Raw on Netflix? And they write it that way to keep it unclear. So if it ends up that it goes back to 2 hours after the first week, Dave Meltzer could say, I never said in that article that it was going to be every week. They write it in such a vague way. How's about you just come out? If they knew, they would just say, beginning on January 6th for the foreseeable future, Raw will be 3 hours. One sentence. When you see all these people and the discussion reports, oh, God. If WrestleVotes was an actual human being, I'd stick this salami up their ass right now. Discussion. WWE's discussing Logan Paul versus John Cena. Yeah, we could all sit here in this chat and figure out probably 10 opponents for John Cena in 2025, and he'll face all of them. And then we could say, well, they're discussing Randy Orton for WrestleMania. They're discussing Logan Paul, but is that really a WrestleMania match? No, discussing. You either know or you don't know. They're discussing. Who do you think in WWE Creative or WWE Management, or better yet, you think Logan Paul or John Cena calls these schmucks and says, hey, listen, you're talking about me facing John Cena at WrestleMania. Shh. What do you think? Conrad? Do Bruce Pritchard? Nobody's leaking this stuff out. They look at common sense matches. Gee, that would be an amazing WrestleMania match. Well, what if we're wrong? Well, we'll just say they're discussing it. Discussing it. My sources tell me that you aren't as legit as you say you are. Jeff, thoughts on people who say they've seen grainy video of Owen Hart's fall online back in the 99, 2000s, recorded from someone in the crowd? Are they trolling? Yes, they are trolling. I was doing a hotline at the time. Plus, in 1999, you didn't have camera phones like you do now. Plus, there was nobody in the ring. And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm just saying, like, there's nobody in the ring. People weren't looking up. Like, he was on the thing, but it was so high up that it wasn't that they had a spotlight on it either. It was dark. So it's not like people were looking up and watching what was going down. So you didn't have people that were sitting there like this with the ring. This is a fact, guys. When he fell, I spent probably years trying to see if there was footage online. I covered it in real time in 1999. We've covered it over the years. There was never footage. People claim that there's footage. There's a bunch of jerk-offs on YouTube that and they show the still shot when he was in the ring being tended to by medics. Footage has never come out. Footage has never come out. And if I could say this, that would be, it might sound awful, but you'll understand why I'm saying this. You see what's posted on Twitter of deaths. There's a lot of disturbing videos posted on Twitter involving accidents and people dying. You take away the wrestling aspect, you take away the fact that we loved Owen Hart. If you saw that footage on Twitter, you'd be like, oh, fuck. And then you just move on to the next video. This is not video where it would be like, oh my God, I can't sleep for the next 5 years. It's disturbing. It's terrible. I feel bad for anybody who was live there that saw that happen, but there's no footage. If there was footage, even a few seconds of it, people would have repeatedly posted it online trying to get some ad revenue. Somebody on Twitter by now would have done it. There's no video. Oh, yeah, I'm sure AI, down the line, there'll be some AI stuff. Trust me. I've made some AI photos. Not going to say what they are. It's nothing perverted, but I've made some AI photos that I've showed Kev privately. And I was going to use one for Monday. Kev's like, don't do that. They're like, unless something happens in 2025 that we're kind of fearing, I'll give you a hint. Shut up. AI is getting really disturbing really, really quickly. So Bob says he would love to hear Kev's opinion on Edge and CM Punk. When we do the show tomorrow, I'm sure we'll definitely be talking about CM Punk. I'll mention it to him. I'll just ask him. I'll say, look, from 2020 on, who do you think has had the better, run? I think even he would admit CM Punk. Edge has done some in AEW. He did some in WWE. I mean, look, his match against Sheamus was epic. He did great with Roman Reigns. He wrestled more than we realized, but I think CM Punk has had higher profile matches and more money-making matches. I don't think the card, the revenue, the merchandise, the viewership, the ticket sales would have been that much different for Edge. And if I remember correctly, didn't Edge's last match, the tickets, it was not a sellout? I don't think it was a sellout. And the rating was not much different either. It didn't pop like an insane number, even though many people thought that, that was Edge's retirement match. So I'll ask him. I'll definitely ask him. AG is asking if I watched World's End last night. I watched some of the matches already. Today I was out all day. So tonight we're going to finish this by 9:30. It's 9:06 right now. So I'm going to watch more of it tonight, and I'll have an opinion on it later on this week. From what I've seen so far, it's not a bad card. Wasn't a bad card. The Continental Classic, they obviously manipulated so they could get certain matches to come out of it. And that's why you had to have Fletcher and Ospreay on different blocks. And then the Ricochet loss surprised me. It definitely surprised me. But overall, I'll say one thing about yesterday. I mentioned this in the news update earlier. Shame on everyone out there that is really pushing this historic thing about AEW made history last night, that Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander was the first women's match to surpass 20 minutes. That is not history. That is embarrassing. We're not talking about a 1-hour Broadway. We're not talking about a 30-minute Iron Woman match. No women's match in 5+ years ever hit 20 minutes. That is embarrassing. That is not history. That's embarrassing. Their match was the longest match on the card yesterday. I thought the match was great. Chris Statlander definitely deserves her praise. It's not easy to go toe-to-toe with someone who comes from the WWE, that's main event of WrestleMania, that has a top-tier, arsenal to themselves. Mercedes has had some sloppy matches, but I blame a decent amount of those sloppy matches on the opponents. You can't simply just slot Mercedes Moné against some women in AEW and expect great matches, because they never dotted the I's and crossed the T's for a lot of those women. As long as they can get, and you can't just simply fall back on weapons matches all the time or anything goes matches. That's almost like, okay, these two women, I mean, honestly, this is what it is. This is the perception. When you see certain women, not Thunder Rosa, when you see other women, like Anna Jay, Julie Hart and others, anything goes, weapons, whatever. To me, that's creative saying, guys, they're going to suck. This match is not going to be good. Let's just have them do weapons. Hey, girls, you want to do weapons? You want to just brawl? Why do you think all the matches that I was involved in were all street fights? I was involved in 3 matches in my lifetime, and they were all street fights. Because I could do basics. I could do suplexes. I could take back bumps, even though my neck was awful. But I couldn't really do much. He do street fights. He covers up a lot. So, all right, let's get back to some more questions. Jimmy Fingers. As a mess as AEW is, you can honestly say it doesn't make sense creatively. Edge and FTR opposing the Death Riders seems far more credible than Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and the rest of the underweights. I agree. Rated FTR is more of a main event that casual fans would want to watch. Darby Allin, though, is, I think, I want to just, guys and girls in the chat, type yes or no. And don't be afraid to say no if you disagree with me. There's no wrong answer here. But to me, you know who Darby Allin is? Darby Allin is the Tommy Dreamer of ECW. That's what he is. He's the Tommy Dreamer of AEW. Tommy Dreamer for a long, and let me explain why before you say yes or no. Tommy Dreamer was there from the beginning. Tommy Dreamer took crazy bumps, worked his ass off, took bumps nonstop. And many times he would lose. Once in a while you get a win. He got the tag titles, a couple of times. But the thing is that they wanted Tommy Dreamer at some point to become world champion. To be in the record books that he was one of the most loyal people in the ECW and one of the wrestlers that wrestled for the people. He did it to entertain the fans and destroyed his body over it. And he got that, but he lost the belt quickly, if you remember. But he did get that accolade. I think Darby Allin is that guy that's been there from the beginning, kills his body for AEW, a big fan favorite. Fans, true diehard AEW fans, think that Darby is that one guy that has been reliable for them. Sure, he's had injuries. And I think they want to reward him and have the AEW fans celebrate with him, even if it's for a short period of time. That's why I consider Will Ospreay the Shawn Michaels of AEW, and I consider Darby Allin the Tommy Dreamer of AEW. Not someone that could be a long-lasting world champion, but someone that definitely has worked their ass off in that company that I think true AEW fans would celebrate him being champion. I never bought into Tommy Dreamer as world champion. I honestly thought it was because the roster was so fucking liquefied. It was so watered down. And remember, they had Taz show up for a cup of coffee at that time because of Mike Awesome walking out. Just Incredible had a couple of big feuds with Tommy Dreamer. To me, Tommy Dreamer was a singles hardcore wrestler that did not need a championship. Tommy Dreamer will probably even tell you he didn't need a championship. He probably didn't even want a championship at times in his ECW career. But at some point, he's so dedicated to the brand, to what it represented, and for the hardcore fans out there that one time, you give him that moment. That's what I kind of feel with Darby Allin is. And if you disagree, that's fine. That's how I remember Tommy Dreamer in ECW. I don't know if any of you ever go listen to Busted Open, and I give you permission. You could tune into them. We're not telling you. We'll never tell you not to tune into others. Although 20 years ago, I probably would have been like, "What are you, stupid?" But no. If you tune into Busted Open, tell them. Say, listen, on the Don Tony, Kevin Castle show, or whatever you want to say, you got to say it like that because they'll know DTKC because Bully Reed be like, those pussies never showed up in Florida. Tell them, say, we were discussing Darby Allin, and I said that Darby Allin is the Tommy Dreamer of AEW. Because of the hard work and the loyalty and the dedication for the brand since the beginning. See what his reaction is to it. I honestly think he would agree to that to a certain point. No one else comes to mind. No one. So thank you, Jimmy, for the 20 spot, by the way. Much love. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, belated. Happy New Year. Bob the Builder says he gained a lot of respect from me when Brawlout happened and everyone was shitting on CM Punk, calling him a cancer, and I was fair and neutral. I appreciate that, Bob. Listen, I just tell like I feel. I don't like lying. I know that sounds stupid and cliche, but I'm not a good liar anymore. 15 years ago, I could fake laugh at some of my co-hosts' horrible jokes. You know, there was audio only, so you could, you know, you only hear audio and, you know, you hear me go, oh, shit. And I'd be like, Joey, that sucked. That was awful. But no, I'm just not a good liar anymore. I'd rather just tell you honestly how I feel. And this way it's authentic. I don't have to worry about covering up a lie later on. There are people out there that lie through their teeth for numbers and for hits and revenue. And then they got to keep that up. And at some point they slip, and fans are a lot smarter than you think. And they'll be like, wait a minute, you said this. I know you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. And some fans have a lot of free time on their hands, and they'll go back and they'll check. Trust me. I'd rather just be honest. If you don't like what I say, at least you know I'm not doing it to troll. If I want to troll someone, I'll tell you. I will absolutely tell you. But I feel what I say, and I say what I feel. And that's been my style since the beginning. I'm just not a good liar. I can't even lie to my wife. I can't even lie to her. Honey, what do you think of this outfit? You know, I don't know. I just look at even Chris Statlander. Somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago, you know, what do you think about Chris Statlander, her physique? And I'm like, well, you look at her outfit, especially on top over here, like, what's this lump? What's this lump? Does she have 4 tits? I mean, I'm not saying to be a jerk or perverted. You look at Chris Statlander's outfit, sometimes it looks like you're putting 1.5 pounds of bologna in a 1-pound bag. I'm just being honest. Somebody asked me, I think Chris Statlander is extremely attractive. I think she's also put on a little bit of weight. You know, we said that about Raquel Rodriguez, but Raquel Rodriguez had a horrible disease that she couldn't work out. You know, listen, when Kevin and I got that private message thanking us for what we said about her, you know, we did research. And if you've ever, the closest I could compare it to is, any of you out there ever have shingles? I don't know if any of you ever had shingles. I've never had it. My doctor had it a couple of months ago. And he tells me it's one of the most painful things you can have. And that's the best way I could compare Raquel Rodriguez with her immune disease that she had. It was so painful that she couldn't even work out. So putting on some weight, and plus I'm sure there was a little bit of depression on top of it. You know, so you understand why. But I'm not saying things just to offend and just to be, you know, recognized or just try to get a little bit of bullshit exposure over. I'm just telling how I feel about things. Again, and trust me, I should talk. Look at me. Look at me. And as of today, I quit keto for the next year or two. I'm going back on Ozempic. I quit keto. I just don't want to be restricted anymore. My mom made some good food for Christmas, and I ate it. I felt like shit overnight. I drank a gallon of water. I was like, nah, it was good stuff, man. I ate a real cannoli. So I'll just be careful what I have. If you go back to the early video days when I was doing breakfast soup roll with Mish, if you look at my face, if you look at it then and you say, oh, I think he had Ozempic face. Yeah. I stopped Ozempic 2.5 years ago. I'm getting the compound online because I ain't spending $700 a month. I don't have that kind of money. I'm getting the compound. I'm mixing it with water, $40 a month. Do it myself. Do it myself. And look, if I have bad side effects, then I stop. If I show up on here and I look like a guppy and my face is like, then I'll tell you no. Then I'll go right back on keto. Twix, I can't give you in a history lesson on Ozempic. All I can tell you is that it slows down your metabolism so you feel full for a lot longer. And the reason why I always thought it was scary is because I don't think shit should stay in your intestines for an extended run. Like we don't want, like, listen, there's WWE in your house shows that are only 90 minutes long. And then you have AEW events that are 5 hours long. Like you like the crap inside your intestines, you wanted to run like in your house length or SmackDown before it went 3 hours length, or maybe even like a main event. You don't want to go WrestleMania length. And that's what Ozempic does. It slows down your metabolism. So the longer your food stays in you, the more you feel full. So look it up. Yeah, Ozempic with a laxative, probably. Rob S., thank you for the 2-spot, Rob. Favorite ravishing Rick Rude memory? I always remember the week that he showed up on ECW, WCW, and WWE. Within 48 hours, he was on all 3 shows. A lot of people don't bring that up. He was on ECW Saturday night. Then he was on Raw, and he was on Nitro. Within 48 hours, Rick Rude was on all 3 brands. I enjoyed his feud with the Ultimate Warrior. I liked when he was with Percy Pringle early on when he was coming out the Sade Smooth Operator. That was fun. But Rick Rude, when he was with Bobby Heenan, feuding with the Ultimate Warrior, to me, that was great stuff. When he feuded with Jake the Snake Roberts, that was awesome. Even when he feuded with Sting in WCW, unfortunately broke his neck. One of my old compilation tapes, I think it was Best of Rick Rude. I'm sure some of you bought that Tuco's video from back in the day, Tuco's, whatever it was called. They had the match with Sting when he had the bump and fucked him up. Rick Rude was awesome, man. Rick Rude's body was too perfect, though. Too perfect. But, yeah, I heard he was a tough son of a bitch outside of wrestling. Like, you don't fuck around with Rick Rude. Taken way too young, man. I wish that guy was still around. Even if he wasn't wrestling anymore, I think Rick Rude would have been fun doing podcasts and stuff like that. Rick Rude was good. Rick Rude was good. Bob the Builder with a 2-spot. Whatever happened to Nick Houseman? Don't ask, don't tell. That's what pretty much I've been getting. I've asked a few people. Nobody knows. Funny thing is, his personal social media pages have been inactive also. Not saying this to be funny. He could have been arrested. Something could have happened worse. I don't think so. The word going around the campfire is that he got a cease and desist from Jericho's lawyer. That's what I was told. I was told that he got a cease and desist. Plus, I also heard that he was being sued, and the amount of money that he had to put together to get a lawyer, he just gave it up. I expect him to be back online. That guy, and I'm not saying this to be a jerk, you know, I do insurance stuff. Kev books bands, metal bands. He's a booker and he manages nightclubs. That's our income for our livelihood. This has become a second job because of the amount of time we put in it. It's insane how much time we put in for the shows. So it's a second job. But the thing is that there are some people out there, no names mentioned except for Nick Houseman, that decided that being a journalist or whatever it was going to be their income. And then what happened is that everybody decided to be a journalist, and then you got to be extra careful. You know, like, I guess he thought getting likes and heart emojis from Kylie Ray was worth losing his career over or whatever it was. I don't know what it was. But, you know, he opened his mouth, thought that he could be a Twitter gangster. And from what I was told, that he got served. And, you know, to get a lawyer, you have to pay a lot of money, thousands. You know, I have E&O insurance. A lot of you don't know that. I have E&O insurance for this. So if I ever, that's why I'm extra careful what I say now. But if I ever got sued I have insurance to cover my ass. There's a ton of people out there that do not. And when you got to go to get a lawyer and you got to put down $2,500, $5,000 to retain a lawyer, and that's just to start it, it's like, oh, fuck. So that's what I was told. I don't know if it's the case. Bob also says MJF stock has fallen a lot this year. Disappointing. Well, he was doing Happy Gilmore too. And he's got a decent role in the movie. It's not, like best supporting actor territory, but listen, it's kind of like what I used to say about Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, when he was champion and would not work for months at a time, people used to get pissed and angry at Brock Lesnar. Kevin and I used to laugh at it. We were frustrated just like everybody else. But when people were like angry, like, fuck you, Brock Lesnar, he's never on TV, he sucks, and this and that, oh my God, get rid of him. We used to say over and over again, it ain't his fault. That's the contract he signed with WWE. Blame WWE for telling Brock Lesnar, we're only going to use you 12 dates a year, 15 dates a year. I'm just throwing a random number out there. So what did people expect? And I know a lot of you remember what I'm about to say. Back then, Paul Heyman tried to cover it up. He did some interviews and he said, Brock Lesnar is like Andre the Giant. He's a special attraction. He should not be on TV every single week. Nice try, Paul. That's the contract he signed. And we used to laugh and say, what do people expect? They go to Raw and suddenly Brock Lesnar shows up in the locker room. Brock, what are you doing here? We didn't tell you to come. Oh, I was in the neighborhood. I was going hunting and I said, let me stop by. I'll give you a freebie. Give me somebody to beat up today. What wrestler does that? You know who does that? Baron Corbin and AJ Francis, who were backstage in AEW last night. Can I have Tony, please? Tony, I never say anything bad about you. That's who would show up and do something. Same thing with MJF. MJF had a deal set with Tony Khan in 2023. Nobody reported it because MJF wasn't going to leak anything out. Neither was AEW. And Dave Meltzer wasn't going to leak it out and fuck up, kind of what his gimmick was, the bidding war of 2024. The deal was already sealed in 2023. But MJF got a sweetheart deal where he does not have to work that many dates. It'll pick up as 2025 goes on. He'll have a much better 2025 than 2024. But a lot of his steam running out is more contractual than anything else. Crazy hot take. Jericho returns to WWE next year. He will not be back in WWE anytime soon. I said a couple of years ago that Jericho is the number 3 guy in that company. And at the time, people were like, what are you, nuts? Jericho doesn't have that kind of power. Jericho has power. Jericho has power, and he ain't giving up that power. And he has kind of replaced Cody Rhodes as far as the power goes. He's not an ambassador for the company, but Jericho has a boatload of power and influence in that company. He goes to WWE, he'll be eating humble pie. To an extent, I don't think Triple H would be as hard on him as Vince would have. CM Punk's a perfect example of that. Look at, if Vince was still in power, CM Punk probably would have to job to Tozawa at this point. Or somebody. There would have been some stupid law somewhere. I think Jericho will remain in AEW for at least another 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. Once that boat is sailed, That ship has sailed, and Jericho really cannot go anymore, and he doesn't have the influence he used to. Jericho's price will go down. He'll become more available, and then Jericho ultimately will come back. But it ain't happening for 3 to 5 years at minimum, my honest opinion. So, Iconic one, thoughts on the main event finish with Wheeler interfering again. It's a 4-way match. There are no disqualifications. So, listen, I'm not defending the Death Riders. I can't stand them. Can't stand them. I don't like it. To me, it's not as good as they think it is. But when it's a 4-way and you got a bunch of people in your corner, why wouldn't they interfere? It's a cheap way out, but it was to get more anger on the fans. So when FTR and Adam Copeland show up, oh, finally, thank you. Not this clown with his hands in his pockets. He's getting his ass kicked, and, he puts his hands in his pockets. I know why. See, you don't hurt me. He's no-selling it. Like, yeah, so what? It's still, they're not the ones. That's why I honestly thought they really missed a spot last night. Darby Allin, I've also said is kind of, picked up where Sting left off. He's the head guy in that company, the figure, that represents AEW. You would have thought he would have overtook the NWO, if you know what I mean. But Wheeler interrupting, I was expected, like, it would have been more stupid if you think about it, if they didn't interfere. And I don't even think the referee could have said, out. There's no DQ. Why? You would have had to have done a stipulation like Christopher Daniels or Kenny Omega. Somebody could have come out there and said, after what you did on Rampage, the Death Riders are barred from ringside. That's what they should have done. Should have barred anybody from ringside. If they interfere, you lose your title. You lose your title. You're out of the match, you lose your title. Moxley could have gotten the constipated look on his face. He could do that, what he does. You ever see when he does that? When he tries to act like extra pissed and twisted, he starts blowing like side of his face. Yeah. All right. Let's start wrapping this up. No apologies, Tyrese. He was talking about Robert. Oh, wait. He says, my bad, DT. I was talking about Robert Brooks, who was killed by the correction officers in New York a few days ago. So I was right when I looked it up earlier. Blame your fellow chat room people. They talked me out of it to talk about Bobby Brookside. He was talking about the guy in the correction. I just read the story on the show. Those correction officers, the minute he's in handcuffs, unless he's kicking them, he's in handcuffs and the footage shows that they were just beating on him. They will go to jail and they won't survive in jail. They will be hunted by all the inmates because they will be inmates themselves. I'm surprised it's not a bigger story here in New York because I had not heard one bit of it this weekend. I haven't been on TV all that much, but I have not heard one bit of it. The big news is obviously what happened to that woman and the illegal alien that set her on fire. That's been the story, but didn't even know about this story. Look, I don't care if it's white, black, straight, gay, male, female, they, them, it, was, whatever you identify yourself with. If you're in handcuffs and you're not resisting, and you're just getting pummeled by correction officers, first of all, they had to have known that it was on video. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, like I have security cameras inside. They're not really security cameras. They're doggy cameras. Because my dog Bella, she strained her back 2 weeks ago. I think she fell off the couch I came home and she was in pain. We brought her to the vet. They gave her steroid. They gave her pain medicine. They gave her something else. Now she's fine. But I got a Eufy camera, EUFY. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. So now it records 24/7. So if I come home and something happened, I could go back and watch the video. But like, if my wife is not here and I get out of the shower, I'm going to take precautions to make sure my naked ass doesn't pop up on camera. If I was doing anything nefarious, I would make sure that the cameras turn the other way. These correction officers doing that, knowing that there's cameras recording them, I can't explain it. I can't explain it. I guess, like, it looked like a white guy. I guess, and I know this sounds horrible, but understand I'm from New York. I think if Robert Brooks was a black person, this probably would have been the top story. It's an awful story, no matter what. It's an awful story. Those officers will lose their jobs and they will go to jail. And the interesting thing is, once the news wire picks up on it, it'll get blown up into a major story. So methinks says he was black. Were the correction officers black? Then the correction officers had to have been black too. If it's white on black violence, trust me, in New York, it would be front page headlines. Methinks says the victim was black and the officers were white. AG says already they've been fired. Oh, that means it's going to blow up. I'll make a prediction within the next 24 to 48 hours, it'll be all over the fucking United States. It'll be all over the United States. I'm first hearing about this story now. The picture I just saw, it looked like the guy was white, but I take your word for it. That's awful. That's awful, man. Oh no, it'll blow up. I know how New York operates. That will be a major. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Unless there's more to the story, but the footage is going to have to come out. If all that footage is not out yet, it will come out. Maybe they're waiting for the footage to come out. Plus, the family will sue the city, obviously. Man, that could turn into some horrible shit, man. Protests, more violence. You believe me, if the wrong people stir this up, and listen, I have said it, those correction officers should be in jail. Absolutely. I have to look into it more. Doesn't sound like a hit to me. Doesn't sound like a hit, because most hits, they're not done so blatantly on camera. Like, those correctional officers they lost their job. They fucked their life up. Plus, they're going to be labeled as racist, whether they are or not. Could have just been coincidence that officers were white and the victim was black or vice versa. But for a hit, that's not the way you do it. So, it's fucked up, man. Really fucked up. All right. So, just to bring this home a little bit. Bob says, did I see the house for the Chicago show tonight? 12,000 seats. Yeah, I actually was looking at news. I was online for about 15 minutes before we went live, just searching around. What happened to all those reports that WWE was cutting back on house shows for the remainder of 2024? They did quite a few. We gave results earlier for 3, and I think there's 3 more I got to bring up. CM Punk is insanely over. The idea that Tommy Dreamer tried to pull on his Busted Open show a week ago, like, oh, I'd be concerned, CM Punk, he's not getting a reaction. What are you talking about? CM Punk is insanely over. Seth Rollins is going to align with Drew McIntyre for the common cause. And by default, when you align yourself with Drew McIntyre, that's when you turn heel. And the most beautiful thing about it, which I'm sure people haven't noticed yet, is Seth Rollins is not doing anything different that Sami Zayn did. Think of the storyline. Drew McIntyre wants to rid of the bloodline. So ultimately, Seth Rollins will align with Drew McIntyre for the common cause of getting rid of the bloodline. Well, the OG bloodline realigned with Sami Zayn, and Paul Heyman hired CM Punk to try to eliminate the new bloodline. So what Seth Rollins will ultimately do is the same exact thing that Sami Zayn did. CM Punk was hired for one night, but CM Punk will be dragged into it, especially because of the feud with Drew McIntyre. Watch how this develops. That's exactly where they're going with this. They ain't no mixed messages. Seth Rollins is clearly going to very slowly align himself with Drew McIntyre. And then people will say, wait, Seth didn't do anything different than Sami Zayn did. Watch. See, that's what happens to those podcasts out there with lots of commercials. See, that's what happens when you watch the show every week. You see things like this, say, hey, you know, this looks an awful lot like this. You don't watch the show every week, you would not know that. But to just react on special episodes of premium live events, you know, you're just out to use your viewers for money, which is fine. But they'll never come up with stuff like this. All right. Jimmy Fingers with another 20 spot. Jimmy, thank you, my friend. Did everyone see the supposed leaked Royal Rumble card and finishes? Charlotte and John Cena as the winners. Cena, he wouldn't mind if he went heel to face Cody at Mania to win. If he stays babyface, they will out corny each other. John Cena winning the Royal Rumble. Kevin and I just talked about this on Monday. I don't think I want to see John Cena win. It'll be interesting if he does. I also feel if John Cena wins the Royal Rumble, I think you'll all agree with me on this. He cannot come out at number 30. He can't even come out at number 25. John Cena will have to earn this one and be out there 30 minutes, maybe even more. Because if you sneak, that's a Vince move. If you sneak him in at number 30, listen, I still remember, I think it was 2006, whatever year that was, when he came out at number 30 and he was like this, and everybody was like, holy shit. I had a Royal Rumble party at my house. I had a bunch of indie wrestlers over. Everybody popped for that. Everybody in my house was like, oh shit. But this time around, you don't want it felt like they're just handing John Cena a win because he's retiring. John Cena will need to be out there 30 minutes and really earn it. Then if he wins it, I think people will say, you know what? He was out there half hour, worked his ass off. Hey, all right. Adds a little twist to the story. Franchise says 2008. Okay, 2008. I knew it was right around that time. But yeah, I think that's a possibility. Charlotte winning it, I think I even said that on Monday. I think I said on Kevin. Kevin's like, no. I think Charlotte Flair winning it is a very good possibility. We could get Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley too. Sorry for yawning. I've been up since early this morning. That's why we're going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. We're almost done. Just about done. Listen, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, whether you like it or you don't like it, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair was one of the top matches of 2023. It was one of the top matches. When you are labeled match of the year candidate, why wouldn't you go there again? It would be interesting to see Rhea Ripley now feud with Charlotte Flair. It's a possibility. But I don't buy these spoilers being leaked out because, again, who's going to leak it out? Who's really going to leak it out? Who truly knows right now? Let's pretend that they're going to be the winners. The only people that would know is John Cena, Charlotte Flair, maybe their opponents, their ultimate opponents for WrestleMania, and creative. Who in that process do you think is going to leak it out? Now, you know what will happen? Once other rumors come out and it's not them, someone that's writing this shit right now will say, oh, WWE decided to go in a different direction. Yeah. See this finger? Stick it up your ass. Went a different direction. You don't take the magnitude of John Cena winning the Royal Rumble and then a month before say, never mind. Never mind. No, Roman. No, Punk. No. No. If you would have said to me somebody lower on the food chain, then you change it, all right. That's fine. But when you put names out there like this, remember, guys, in 2 days, it's 2025. We're only a month away. If they wrote that in September, I would say, okay, maybe. But at this point, they know who's winning. If it ends up being Charlotte Flair and John Cena, I'll give props to whoever threw that out there. But if it ends up not being one or both of them, get ready for WWE was discussing it, but they decided to go in a different direction. It's so easy to report like that. Shit, I could do that. I don't want to do that because then I'm just making up stuff. You try to assume what you think is going to happen and you report it as news. So if you end up being right, it makes you look like you have connections. Tristan is asking, what did I think the first time I saw the infamous Woo off segment between Ric Flair and Jay Lethal? I've always liked Jay Lethal. I've made it no secret that I watched Jay Lethal grow up as a wrestler in Jersey. I brought this up before. You will even see me on videos that when he wrestled for Jersey All-Pro 20 years ago, I'll never forget it. And if any of you out there ever talk to Jay Lethal, bring this up. He'll tell you I am 1,000% accurate. Me, Lowlife Louie, and others, we used to go to Jersey All-Pro, hang out in the rafters. One match, it was Teddy Hart versus Homicide. This was the time when Teddy Hart was throwing a lot of shit my way because I was throwing a lot of shit his way, and that led to the Sports Illustrated story. Homicide brawl with Teddy Hart, and it's on video, and Homicide brings Teddy Hart literally on my lap with Louis Ramos, Lowlife Louis. We're sitting in the rafters, and they're brawling right in our row, and it was awesome. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to do an Eddie Edwards fan goof and do anything. I mean, I'm a fan. I don't have any personal hatred for Teddy Hart. But Jay Lethal was up and coming. And I always remember to this day, Jay Lethal's family. Literally, if I'm looking at the ring straight ahead, to the right, always the first row, highest up in the rafters on the metal rows, would be Jay Lethal's family. And they were loud. And they were animated, and they supported Jay Lethal tremendously. And every time we went to a Jersey All-Pro show and they were there, they would always be sitting in the same area, first row, all the way in the top, in the back to my right, and just yelling and rooting for him. And it was fun to watch Jay Lethal grow up and become a star. And when he did the exchange with Ric Flair in TNA, that was tremendous, man. That was tremendous. Franchise says they would drive him to all the Ring of Honor shows. Let me tell you something. I wish one of you could get this back to Jay Lethal, because I am 1,000% happy and sincere to say, out of all the wrestlers that I grew up watching on the Northeast, in the Indies, seeing from their beginnings, Jay Lethal is near the top of my list. because he had an amazing support group for his family. And it was just so awesome to sit there and watch it. And they were into everything that he did. And when you got to meet him, man, never hung out with him, got to shake his hand a few times, say hello. But, genuinely, everybody had great things to say about him. That's why when there was some controversial stuff with Ring of Honor, I didn't believe it. And most people didn't either, because that's not Jay Lethal. I'm telling you, I don't care, people could change. This guy was just so genuine and just authentic. I think that's the best way to put it, authentic. Just a real good guy in wrestling. And to see him be able to go that level with Ric Flair and TNA, although a comedy segment, it was good, man. Jay Lethal is a good guy, man. Good guy. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. Jeff, I said it earlier on the news show, Tiffany teasing to cash in has jumped the shark. I don't think she's cashing in on January 6th. I think we'll have Rhea Ripley as your champion. I think Liv Morgan will show up on SmackDown with a trade. And we may see something where Liv Morgan beats Nia Jax for the championship, and then Tiffany cashes in on Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan only has the title for 5 minutes, and Tiffany will go over even bigger as a babyface. I'm just, ad-libbing. Chaos is in the house. Chaos, much love, my friend. I mentioned it earlier. My condolences to you and your family. What happened? So, Mark Hicks, if I had the choice, would I prefer real ropes or steel cables wrapped in rubber? When I went to wrestling school for the 9 months, running the ropes, the steel cables hurt, but they were much nicer. I ran ropes that were not like good steel cable wrapped. Those steel cables, they give you bounce. Even though it hurts, you kind of get used to it. And one of the things when you go to wrestling school, I don't know if they still do this, but one of the earliest things that you do is you run the ropes, I think for 2 minutes or I don't know, 20 times, and then you stop and you do a back bump. You get up, you run the ropes again. And for me, it was always, I think, 3 or 4 steps. I think it was 1, 2, 3, hit the rope. 1, 2, 3, turn around, hit the rope. 1, 2, 3. I mean, I'm going back, my God, 17 years, maybe more. That's kind of what I remember. I think I used the 3 or 4 steps, but the cables were much easier to bounce off of. So, okay. Deuce says that's a new piece of trivia for him. Oh, he was crediting somebody else in the chat. All right, so we're at 9:53. I was going to stop at 9:30. Let's finish at 10. So we'll finish at 10 o'clock sharp. And then Kevin and I will be live tomorrow if you want to join us. DTKC Discord. It'll be the last show that Kevin and I are doing together for 2024. Not sure what we're doing yet Tuesday for Patreon. That may need to be postponed because of New Year's Eve. Not sure yet. I'll definitely let everybody know. S21 Ultra. Does Roman turning heel stop the streak of the Cena character? Top babyface never turns heel. Is it on the table now to turn any babyface? If it's I think we're going to see a match where Roman and John Cena team up. I think fans would dig it. I think having a match with John Cena teaming up with Roman Reigns is something that the fans want to see. Plus, I mean, who touted putting Cena in retirement? Who did Cena wrestle? That lost. He lost to. And that person touted that he retired Cena. Same guy that Roman Reigns is going to fight on January 6th, Solo Sikoa. They're both going to be baby faces. It's too late for Cena to be heel. And Roman Reigns, they built this 2 hard for him to turn heel again. A couple of years ago, I would say yes, but at this stage of the game, no. I think Cody Rhodes has a better chance of turning heel than Roman Reigns as of right now. Benjamin, will we have to worry about AEW fans or Kamala Harris supporters during the January 6th Raw? No, we don't. January 6th happens to be my dad's birthday. He will be in Florida. I will be bird sitting starting tomorrow. The bird is coming here, so I will have both of my dogs and the bird for the next week. And January 10th, Bruno gets neutered. So we're going to have to deal with a neutered dog. And we don't put the cone, by the way. My wife gets like a bodysuit, a sweater to put over the dog so he doesn't try to start licking his wound. But he's marking everywhere and he keeps trying to hump Bella. Bella's spaded, so she can't get pregnant. But yeah, so the next week is going to be kind of hectic. But no, January 6th, no one's going to think about what happened at the Capitol. You know, it was awful what happened that night, but that day. But no, nobody's going to think about it. Nobody's going to think about it. Roderick asks, if I could have been a full-time wrestler, would I have rather been a top guy in Vince's prime era of rock and wrestling, the Attitude Era, or mid-card guy in Triple H's WWE? I would have, if I had a choice for any era, I probably would have chose, I mean, honestly, I don't think, if I would have kept at it, at best, I would have been a squash. I would have lost, squashed. If you would have said to me that I would have had the opportunity to be a squash wrestler, you know, like get squashed in matches, a jobber, if I had the choice of Vince's era, Attitude Era, or Triple H's era, I would choose Vince's era. I would choose Vince's era. You know why I say that? If you look at even, let's go to Ruthless Aggression era. You look at Ryback's opponents in handicap matches. Outside of James Ellsworth down the line. You look at even wrestlers that come in, a women's wrestler that gets squashed from a Nia Jax or someone that's not on the roster. 95% of the time, we don't remember their names. You know, we don't remember their names. But for some reason, in the 80s, we remember all the fucking jobbers. And I'm not talking about, you know, the ones that, you know, had like a little character like Brooklyn Brawler or Barry Horowitz. I'm talking about the Charlie Fultons, the Israel Mateas, you know, the Charlie Browns. There was a black wrestler named Charlie Brown. I always felt bad for him. But it's funny, if you ever Google him, I mean, he wore these like brown, like the shittiest shit-colored brown shorts. And he looked funny, but he sold and he would get his ass kicked and he would sell. Look at Pete Sanchez, who recently died. You look at so many 80s jobbers that I remember. If I would have been an 80s jobber, probably my name would be remembered today. Jobber, you know, even like your Mac Rivera's. S.D. Jones, who ended up being a jobber, but S.D. Jones had a pretty decent career, you know, before jobber status. It's amazing how many jobbers you remember at that time. But you don't remember them too much afterwards. Mario Mancini was pretty much a jobber. Iron Mike Sharp got more of a push than you think. Iron Mike Sharp main evented Garden. I wouldn't put that jobber territory. He ended up losing matches in the early to mid-90s for the WWF. I think his last year was 95. I would go with the 80s era. OTS Tribal Queen and Riot still being mentioned after Trump got reelected is just insane. Oh, yeah, people, you know, listen, a lot of people that were brainwashed to think he was Hitler are not going to suddenly change their minds about him. The only way it's going to change their minds is if he gets in office and we see a little bit of recovery and it doesn't feel biased. news media are losing their jobs. They having their pays cut. And, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that had people brainwashed that Kamala Harris was going to win by a landslide. And you watch them election night and you see like the videos that are coming out now. And you have people doing watch parties with like 300 people in attendance. And I think like halfway through, everybody that was sitting in that crowd realized these people were just lying to us. That they were just feeding us what they wanted to see happen, not what what was going to happen. And you have people putting out fake shit. That's why I even say it, even in wrestling. A couple of years from now, a lot of that hate on AEW, micromanage this, criticize this, rip this, make fun of this. That's going to run its course, and then people are going to be left with their, part of my language, with their penis in their hands for the most part. I don't see many women podcasters acting like bitches. So, Corey Kleber, what's up, Corey? Shout out to, he's been tuning in, going back to the TV Tracks days. I miss TV Tracks. TV Tracks, if you're still watching wrestling, drop me a DM, man. You have my email address. He has my personal email address. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel embarrassed. I think I'm the only person that truly knows why he left. I'll say this and we'll finish with this because we're about hitting 2 hours. If any of you that learned about my content or Solo Monsters content through an old YouTube channel called TV Tracks, I don't know what he looks like. I have an idea because I saw some social media, but I don't want to put it out there and be wrong. But what happened was there were several YouTube channels trying to put our content up. The only person I'd asked was TV Tracks. So everybody else, I politely told them, take my stuff down, take our stuff down. And I gave them a week, and if they didn't, then I had it taken down. And because I'm behind a corporation, it's a lot easier to get done. That's why if you notice, nobody's making money off our shows on YouTube. Hopefully we will in 2025. But what happened was TV Tracks reached out to us and said, can I put some of your clips on YouTube? So we said, yeah, go ahead. I mean, we didn't think it was going to amount to anything. And within a couple of weeks, we started getting like a lot of emails and DMs, and people would call in because we were taking calls at the time. Yeah, found you guys out from TV Tracks. Holy shit, found you through TV Tracks. It's same thing with Jason. Got a lot of people, TV Tracks, where I found you. And he started making good money. And he became a Patreon of ours. We still have Patreon, patreon.com/Don Tony, cheap plug. We have 8 years of content up there. All the Patreon shows that Kevin and I have been doing for 8 years. Each one of us does a show a week for 8 years. They're still up there. Never been made public. He became a patron. And he would give us extra money. And he said, look, he says, I wanted to give you guys a little something. Not a lot, but gave us a little something, to put back into the shows because he was making some money on YouTube. And what happened was Adpocalypse, I think it was called. There was several years ago, YouTube stopped paying ad revenue for wrestling shows, wrestling related content. Some indie promotions went out of business because their only revenue was YouTube. Some podcasters either went out of business totally, or they would be like, oh, no show this week, I'm going to babysit. Oh, no show this week, I have to do this. Oh, we're going to have to cancel this week. They were making all these excuses. The fact was that they were making no money and they didn't want to do it anymore. So TV Tracks sent me an email probably about 2 weeks after Adpocalypse and said to me, DT, I just want to thank you for letting me put the content up. I'm going to be taking some time off. And I knew he was not going to come back. I wrote back to him. I said, listen, friend, I said, thank you for giving us all that extra exposure. Whatever you made off of it, enjoy it. I said, I appreciate all of that because you guys don't realize that guy would have to listen to 2-3 hours of our show every week. Listen to 2-3 hours of Jason's show every week. 2 or 3 hours of whoever else he was putting clips up for the week. Not only would he listen to all the shows, he would then snip out segments, and then he would add a thumbnail, and then he would title it. And then you realize this guy must have spent easily 30 to 40 hours a week on that channel. It was a full-time job for him. And when Adpocalypse came in, there was almost nothing to be made. You know, and in a lot of ways it hasn't recovered. You know, some shows that we do, you make $5, $8. Who's going to work 2, 3, 4 hours preparing, recording, editing after, and then you look and you made $7? You know, you don't always do it just for that. I mean, you do it for the love, but for him, it was a full-time job. When they took all that ad revenue away, that was it. He was done. He never came back. And I wish he would. I think he probably could make a few dollars now, but it's obviously much different now because there's 1,000 times more shows now than there were 15 years ago. But TV Tracks, good guy, man. There was another channel too. I think it was Epic Sports. I think it was. He used to put our content up as well, and he asked us, so we gave permission. But yeah, we're going to start putting some more clips on YouTube in 2025. We just got to try to be as simple as possible because we put in so many hours already. I got to start working on the history shows again. That's going to be hard because I got to splice in the last 5 years of wrestling. And I have the first month pretty much set. Now I got to just record voice for it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming in 2025. And, you know, we'll take it one day at a time. But again, your support is why we're doing it. We absolutely are not doing it just so we could hear each other talk. But as long as you guys are around helping us grow, we will do our part. Absolutely. And we'll see what happens in 2025. So I'm going to jet out of here. I want to thank you all for your time this Sunday evening. For those live, thank you. Thank you, those on the archive. Keep supporting the website, DTKCshow.com. And we added a little bit extra on the site. Now, everybody who's a patron and everybody who's a channel member on YouTube, your names are up there too, scrolling across, so you'll see that. And then we're going to start adding more features, like upcoming episodes, retro stuff. And then we got the history shows coming back, upgraded. So, we have a lot planned. We'll see how much of it develops. But we also got to be very careful with time as well, because there's a lot of work as it is. And now we're going to add extra work to it. So it means even more hours. But if I don't talk to you before the new year, have a happy and healthy new year. If you're around Monday night after Raw, join Kevin and I on our Discord channel, DTKC Discord, or download the archive after we're done. We'll be live at 10:15 p.m. For our Patreon family, I will let you all know by Tuesday morning if there's going to be a show, New Year's Eve, which as of right now, I think we're going to skip for the first time, I think, in a couple of years. For those that participated in the predictions contest for World's End, you didn't have to watch World's End to be part of the contest. Our channel members and our patrons, the winners will be announced on my page. Well, I'll probably do it tomorrow on DTKC because there wasn't that many entries. So I should be able to knock that out tonight. So tomorrow night, we'll mention the winners and Kev will repeat it on Thursday's Patreon show for our patrons. So, and enjoy, everyone. Much love. I'm out of here. Happy New Year. And we'll catch you all again 1 week from today, which will be what? January. Ooh, next Sunday's the day before the Netflix debut. So we could have some combo next Sunday to see what we anticipate happening So be a fun show. I'll be back next week, Sunday night, the 5th of January. Have a good one, everybody.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.